Right, right. Eric?
Yeah, I agree. It's I think I would add that there's a lot of people that are entrepreneurs out there but aren't successful, and then there's the ones that are successful. And one of the characteristics of the successful ones is this ability to say, I can do that, and not just going kind of as a dreamer into it, but then saying, okay, I have this dream, now I'm going to be practical about achieving it. Yeah. And when we work with companies that are really successful, that can grow, that's driven by an entrepreneur like that, it really shines through. This ability to look at things in a practical sense, to recognize their own weaknesses and find fixes for them is a really important characteristic of the successful entrepreneur.
I attended a recent workshop, and that was the same workshop I think you were in, Eric, and one of the speakers gave the classic definition of entrepreneurship and entrepreneur characteristics. And you can pick up literature books and you get the same, what I call hama, but there's really an ingredient to being an entrepreneur and a successful entrepreneur. And I don't know whether you folks can spell out the recipe for that, but I'm going to try to give that a shot, Eric, and then I'll ask Jim the same question. I think what is that recipe?
I think it's one of those things you know it when you see it.
It tastes good. It is good.
It is good. Okay. I think it all kind of boils down to a successful entrepreneur is somebody that is smart and capable and is willing to take risks and is willing to go after what they want and is aggressive about that. So you have to have those in different combinations. Depends on your industry, depends on where you are. But these things are all kind of have to be there in order to be successful.
Jim?
I would echo that. I think Eric's got it exactly right. And I would add one other element, which he touched on before, and that is to know oneself and know one's limitations. These are not people, successful entrepreneurs are not supermen, they're not do it by themselves. They know, and your examples are all perfect examples of those, of people who know they need a team of others to work with them to make their dreams, their ideas into realities.
Very good.
To add to that, I was fortunate enough on a vacation to meet the guy behind Starbucks. And was his roaster when he started the company. And he's the guy that picked the coffee. He's the guy that built the company. You never really hear about him anymore. But that's very typical of these guys. There's one person that will be put up on the pedestal as the leader, but they're surrounded by a cadre of very talented people that make things happen.
Just as a side note, I had the pleasure of meeting Howard Schultz when I was out of Los Angeles, working in Los Angeles, and that's when he first published his book, and I was at an executive forum, so obviously he was selling his book, which I bought in the autograph, but after I read the book, then I went and bought his stock, and I held it for a while and did good. That's Starbucks. ATIF has gone through talk to us briefly about the deadline that just passed on the 17th, the number of applicants that came in. You provided me a sheet of the template. It's a pretty comprehensive way in which to look at someone. Give us a little information on that, Jim.
Because we're a group of now 46 men and women who are not all from a particular industry or domain or expertise, but a broad-based group with lots of different backgrounds, we use structure to enable us to lever that brain power into making some clear decisions. So we have a formal process. We invite anybody to apply who's seeking capital in the $200,000 to $2 million range in an early stage technology company. But then we have to sort through all of them. And in a typical quarter, we'll see somewhere between 15 and 30 applicants. So in order to figure out what we do with all those, we have a process that involves everyone we have a 10-person screening committee looking at all of these candidates, applying some tools, selecting some for interviews and interviewing some to get to see our members. So we meet quarterly. Our next meeting is in May, so our window for the applications actually closed. I said 17th. It's really the 19th to have a little bit of a give there for last minute types. But then we'll spend about a month doing that because we are all volunteers at it, and this is herding cats to some extent.
Yes, I think you mentioned that once before, but they're good cats.
Good cats.
Yeah, they're good cats. Well, you know, we have a few minutes. We have a few minutes left, and let me try to summarize the conversation, if I may. I think the entrepreneurs, I'm hearing an ingredient, do exhibit some certain traits, and it's only after you interact with them you know that they've got the trait. I mean, there isn't a definitive formula that says, hey, this entrepreneur is going to be successful, because as you said earlier, there's hundreds and thousands of entrepreneurs, and they remain entrepreneurs. But for me, the revolutionary one is like, you got to change something. I mean, the iPhone just changed the entire phone processing system. That's not the right word, but it changed. Whether you're a professional manager or an uneducated individual, a highly educated individual, you still had a crack at being an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur, is I think what I wanted to say. The other is the manufacturing. I'm glad to hear Arizona stepping up to the STEM project. I think Science Foundation has just launched a program to get that going in a direction where there are more students applying themselves in science, technology, engineering, and math. I think that's a good thing for Arizona. That certainly is going to attract more businesses, and it's going to attract more money into the valley. I believe that's going to happen. Happy to hear that the angel investment climate is on an uptick. The fact that VCs have come in here and put $141 million in VC deals. You got a number of applicants going. You did some funding. How many companies did you fund in 2011?
We put money into 7 companies last year.
Right. So there are 7 companies that further ahead than they were before they arrived at your place of business at ATIF. And on the side note, there's a side note, and everybody's already probably read this, saw that in their news clip. But hopefully the Valley will have a company like Instagram. That's that 18-year-old, 18-month-old company, Stanford graduates, looking at this technology. Facebook saying, oh, this is interesting, I like the talent, I like the technology, so I'm going to lay out $1 billion in cash and in stock. It's really unheard of. I mean, they don't generate any revenue. I don't know how they created the value in that. It's questionable, huh, Jim?
That's the part of startups that gets the press.
Right.
99% of it is companies grow, you make 10 to 20x of your investment, and that's really, really good, and we're really happy with that.
A much more interesting number. 62 companies were acquired by Google last year for $25 million or less.
Thank you both very much.
Okay.
I enjoyed
Thanks.
it.